BRICS nations being slapped with 10% tariffs. That also includes India and Russia and China.
President Trump considers BRICS as an anti-US economic alliance whose core objective is to undermine the supremacy of the US dollar. He's not forgiving or showing mercy even to the close security allies and partners of the US when it comes to de-dollarization. India and China are going to be worst affected after these high tariff announcements. US expects India to be the bulwark in Asia to help contain the rise of China. When it comes to geoeconomics, Mr. Trump does not distinguish between friend and foe.
India has been a huge disappointment, not for the region, after this Pahalgam attack and the escalation between Pakistan and India, not only for the region, not only for Iran and Central Asia, China, Russia, but also for Europe and America, who wanted to pitch India against China. That if you can't even beat Pakistan in conventional domain, as we saw in 3 days, how can you be a bulwark against China? With a fresh episode of The Weekend, I am Murtaza Solangi.
And I'm Muhammad Ali.
A lot of news, especially after the BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro. There was a strange kind of joint declaration condemning aggression on Iran, but not mentioning who the aggressors were. And it was an interesting summit where Mr. Modi was there, but two important global leaders, the backbone of BRICS, Russia and China, were not there. But after this meeting, we have seen quite a few fuming statements by US President Donald Trump threatening Brazil with 50 or more percent tariffs, and also slapping 10% tariffs on all other BRICS nations who are, according to him, trying to create an anti-American standard by attempting to go de-dollarization. Since Muhammad Ali, you have a better understanding of this BRICS phenomenon, so why don't we start with you? What do you have to add? BRICS nations being slapped with 10% tariffs and Brazil 50%, but even 10%, that also includes India and Russia and China. So where is it headed?
Thank you so much. I think it's not just an event. I think it is a very significant development which will have far-reaching implications for geopolitics, for geoeconomics, and also for the US global alliance system. First off, if you look at the text of the tweet by President Trump, it is very bold and it is very unambiguous and unapologetic that he considers BRICS as an anti-US economic alliance whose core objective is to undermine the supremacy of the US dollar. And he promised, in fact, he castigated his predecessor, President Biden, as being, incompetent at protecting the dollar supremacy. And he, being an astute businessman, uh, promises the US nation and warns the world that he will protect the supremacy of dollar far better than any previous US president. And why it is significant, in my view, according to geopolitics, is because he's not forgiving or showing mercy even to the close security allies and partners of the US when it comes to de dollarization. You mentioned a very significant aspect of the recent BRICS summit, that both the Chinese and Russian president chose not to physically attend it, which indicates that they want to gradually build their influence around the world, but short of directly challenging the US and being seen as confronting it at a time when President Trump is not showing any sign of mercy. That's number one. Number two, I think Mr. Trump's announcement of levying heavy additional tariffs represents US administration's policy not only to protect dollar supremacy, but also to inflict serious cost and punishment on those countries which have a favorable trade balance at the bilateral level with the US. And in that case, two countries are very significant. One is one is China, and the second is India. Before coming to the program, I was doing some research, and China has a more than $600 billion worth bilateral trade with the US. And Beijing enjoys almost 3 times trade surplus with the US, which such aggressive tariff policies Mr. Trump wants to rectify because China has almost $450 billion exports to the US, while US exports only almost $150 billion worth of goods and services to China. The second country, which is very significant, is India for 3 reasons. Number one, India exports and makes around $90 billion by exporting to the US, whereas the US exports to New Delhi are only around 40 billion. So India and China are going to be worst affected after these high tariff announcements. Now, what is most significant about these two announcements for China and India is the geopolitical context, Murtaza Saab, more than geoeconomics, because in the security and geopolitical realm, you know very well, US expects India to be the bulwark in Asia to help contain the rise of China. And the Chinese rise is not just military, it is also primarily of economic nature. But when it comes to geoeconomics, Trump is treating China and India in an identical fashion. And it is imposing equal additional tariffs on India, which it expects to counterbalance China, as it is imposing on China. So that means when it comes to geoeconomics, Mr. Trump does not distinguish between friend and foe. And third most important aspect is the security aspect. That two alliances which are critical for US global security interests are NATO and Quad. Quad in East Asia and NATO in West Europe and Atlantic. But these tariffs, which it has already imposed on Western Europe, means that US expects to economically coerce its closest economic partners in the Western Europe, to which they offer nuclear extended deterrence and security guarantee as well. And in terms of Quad, you know very well that it is not showing mercy even to closest security allies and partners like South Korea and Japan as well. So, in my modest view, this economic coercion can have serious implications for the future of US security alliance system as well. But I want to ask you, how do you think that this economic coercion will affect the US India relationship? Because we have witnessed ever since Mr. Trump returned to White House, uh, there are different developments which are weakening their close partnership in political, security, diplomatic, and now economic realms. What's your perspective on that?
Well, under Trump's America, or as we earlier used to call it, Trumparica, the immediate economic interests outweigh security and global ambitions of the US. United States under Trump is willing to dump their 7+ decades allies of European Union under NATO framework. As you saw, they arm twisted NATO allies to increase their defense expenditure up to 5% of the GDP during last NATO summit. Canada, the next door neighbor, and also a member of NATO, has been pushed to the wall. It was not just Justin Trudeau, but Mark Carney. Just look at the new sanctions, the letter that he tweeted on social media. Okay, Mr. Mark Carney, Canada, you have to pay this much. So when it comes to the immediate economic gains, I'm not sure in the long terms how this will impact US economy. That's for the economists to decide. But when it comes to making a bargain, Trump has chosen the path of even annoying the closest strategic partners. Now, you just gave an example. If you take Japan and India out of Quad, what's left? Yes, even Australia. That's about it. So I think this will have serious implications. On the contrary, Mr. Trump has been kind of what they say, playing footsie with China, praising them. Oh, you have been more responsible, and we will sort out our, tariff issues with China, but getting angry with Putin. So it's a very dynamic situation. But as you gave the figures of India-US bilateral trade, I am still trying to figure out what's the animosity with Brazil, because US has a surplus trade with Brazil compared to China and India that you just mentioned. But with India, India has been a huge disappointment, not for the region, after this Pahalgam attack and the escalation between Pakistan and India, not only for the region, not only for Iran and Central Asia, China, Russia, but also for Europe and America, who wanted to pitch India against China. That if you can't even beat Pakistan in conventional domain, as we saw in 3 days, how can you be a bulwark against China? So there is a lot of disappointment in strategic terms within US. And you have been quoting what Ashley Tallis and others have written. So the India-US relationship, not only in economic terms, but in future strategic terms, is also in the doldrums. There may be some bandage, some kind of quick solution, and you might see some kind of normalization. But the damage is long term. They might, find out some kind of solution to this 10% sanctions that Mr. Trump has announced that includes India. They might come up with some kind of solution. But that solution is temporary. And the way this new global order is emerging, it's just like cracking of an egg and waiting for a new baby chicken to come out.
Indeed. Let me just add 2 points to your very insightful and comprehensive analysis, Murtaza. I think two things are very clear from this US announcement, that US is not going to take the emergence of any geoeconomic challenge lying down. It is going to defend with all its influence and might the dollar dominance. And any country which expects to simultaneously seek or support the de-dollarization project will be denied the US export market and will face severe economic cost in terms of market access denial. So I think this is a very interesting challenge that New Delhi faces, because as you rightly and accurately explained, how Washington sees India as a disappointment, not just in terms of its failure to live up to their expectations against China after their humiliation from Pakistan, but also being neutral in the Ukraine conflict, also embarrassing the US president repeatedly after he almost 20 times repeated that he is the one who brought an end to the Indo-Pakistan war. So they are directly accusing the US president of lying. And I don't think it will go down well with the US administration. At a time when Pakistan sort of supported his nomination for Nobel Peace Prize in recognition for his very timely role in diffusing a very swift and intense conflict between two nuclear-armed arch rivals. So I don't think Mr. Trump is amused when India directly accuses him of being a liar. And thirdly, the US president's offer to mediate on Kashmir issue is also very problematic at the domestic political level and also internationally, because this is contrary to the Indian diplomatic and political stance that at the political level, Modi administration says it's an internal matter, because they have politically attempted to absorb Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir after the 5th August 2019 actions. And at the diplomatic level, they try to play smart and say it's a bilateral issue between India and Pakistan. So in order to avoid any international mediation or reconciliation offer. So this is another wedge which is deepening between New Delhi and Washington at the diplomatic level. And lastly, now the most important wedge which we view is the geoeconomic, because India is trying to simultaneously be seen as the leader of the global south and BRICS, where they want to spearhead alongside Russia and China, a multipolar world order. And at the same time, they want to promise the US a contradictory and conflicting agenda that we are standing with the US led unipolar world order at the same time. So I think the world is mature enough to see through these games. And I don't think serious US planners and thinkers will not see through this Indian game and the reality behind it, driven by strategic autonomy.
When
Now
you
let's
when you try to please everybody, you end up annoying everybody.
indeed,
You know,
absolutely,
in BRICS, India pushed to dilute the joint declaration of BRICS, but not by not mentioning uh, Modi's tight buddy Netanyahu and Israel and even US. But that didn't please Mr. Trump. The very fact that Mr. Modi was the only global big player coming all the way to Rio de Janeiro when even President Xi and Putin had not come. That was not music to the ears of Trump, who is being humiliated by Indian media and politicians and high officials on the India-Pakistan conflict. So you end up annoying everybody. And now, if US goes ahead with 10% extra sanctions on tariffs on India, Canada has been threatened 35%. So you end up on losing both ends. On one hand, in BRICS, you feel isolated because China and Russia are not happy with you, because you, instead of leading the global South, you have become a proxy of global North, a sort of Trojan horse in BRICS. So you end up losing on both sides. That's what they say, being penny wise and pound foolish.
indeed. And then let me just, on a parting note, just on this subject, add a small comment that there's been, intense debate in the last few weeks when Mr. Modi was being compared with Benjamin Netanyahu, and number of Pakistani diplomats, politicians, and leaders were saying that neither Mr. Modi's Benjamin Netanyahu nor Pakistan is Palestine. I think it should be seen in another context. This conflict between India and Pakistan must have made Mr. Modi realize that uh, even if he tried to follow Benjamin Netanyahu, not just that they got a bloody nose from Pakistan, but they must have also recognized their limits of influence within Washington. That US has tolerated Israel and its misbehavior in the Middle East, but the US has not tolerated Indian aggression against Pakistan, which it timely restrained, which means not only US values Pakistan, and secondly, it invited Pakistan's army chief to have lunch, in the White House. So this again proves that US respects and values Pakistan and is not willing to tolerate irresponsible strategic behavior and aggression against Pakistan, and is not going to diplomatically or militarily support India on this. In fact, at the diplomatic level, it supported Pakistan's stance that Kashmir needs to be diplomatically and peacefully resolved, and it is an international issue. So it is not neither a bilateral issue nor an internal issue of India, which is a direct contradiction of the Indian stance on the oldest dispute on the UN Security Council agenda. Now let's quickly move towards another interesting debate which has surfaced recently in Pakistani domestic politics, and you watch it and understand it very well. Recently, there have been some reports that PTI's founders' two sons who grew up and are living in the UK can return to Pakistan and play some role in Pakistan's domestic politics. My first question to you is that if that is a real prospect, then should the Pakistan government be worried, and what should be their response?
My quick comment is that Pakistan government must not be worried and concerned about it. If the sons of Mr. Khan want to visit him, they should be allowed to visit. When it comes to politics, my information is that even after the attack on Mr. Khan, when he was wounded in Wazirabad in 2022, his sons came after a long time to visit him on a visa. That means they don't have NICOP, some kind of alternative of national identity card. So if they don't have the NICOP, they would have to apply for visa. And if they get visa, it would either be tourist visa or business visa. That visa does not allow anybody to engage in politics. So they should not be worried. But let's suppose if they have a NICOP and they come and they become part of a rally or something, until and unless they engage in political activity that's violent, they should not be worried. Given the ground situation in Pakistan, with economy getting better and even the image of the establishment after India-Pakistan conflict getting better and better, Pakistan's diplomatic and regional status getting glorified, they should not be too worried about those two young kids who can't even speak a sentence of Urdu.
Secondly, a somewhat political question. For a long time, the founder of PTI argued, and I think there is a lot of logic in that argument, that he was a strong critic of family dynasties ruling Pakistan. And his principal stance was that PTI is a party which is against dynastic politics. Don't you think if his sons attempt to play a role in Pakistani domestic politics, such an act will undermine his long-standing stance towards PMLN and People's Party? And secondly, do you think that the other parties will face a threat from them? And thirdly, do you think these two young boys actually will replace those workers and political leaders which PTI already have? That means he has nobody else left who he can trust within the party.
When it comes to Mr. Khan and his politics, there's a reason he has been called U-turn Khan. So when it comes to making flip-flops and somersaults, it comes very natural for Mr. Khan. So I won't be surprised if he takes a U-turn on dynastic politics. In practical terms, his sisters, especially Alima Khan, wields more power in PTI than Barrister Gohar, who's the formal chairman of PTI. I would call him caretaker chairman of PTI. When it comes to the potential of his sons in politics, it's very limited. Last time, when I saw them engaging in some kind of political activity, was when both his sons were with their father campaigning for Zach Goldsmith, contesting against Sadiq Khan in London. And Zach Goldsmith's reputation is known worldwide. He's more pro-Zionist than Netanyahu himself. So, and I haven't seen a single statement from both these sons who gave an interview recently on a social media network. I haven't seen that. But if they want to come, we cannot stop them from pursuing politics. But their potential is very limited. When it comes to the cult group, if Mr. Khan says dynastic politics is bad, they will say it's bad. When Mr. Khan says it's very good, they will say very good. So I don't see any critical faculties in the brains of his cult group who will make a hue and cry, except common people who are not too thrilled to join any political movement in the present scenario in Pakistan. There is no appetite. There is no future for monsoon movement in the monsoon era.
Okay, that's very interesting term, monsoon movement in monsoon season. And monsoons are very eventful in Pakistan, both in terms of climate change and political environment as well. So thank you so much, Mr. Solangi. Always a very fascinating discussion and insightful discourse that I'm sure a lot of viewers around the world look forward to. Thank you so much for joining us, viewers. Don't forget to share your thoughts, feedback, and comments in the comment section, and keep watching this space for more insightful discussion on the most important events and developments around the world, in this region, and in Pakistan. Thank you so much.